GM. This is Morning Markets. It is Monday, the 29th of September. So, Bitcoin. What did we see? Well, on the weekly close, we managed to remain above those 12 and 21 EMA bands. You can see the high time frame support resistance levels. These have been respected on Bitcoin. And where have we bounced today? Of course, exactly off that high time frame support resistance level. So I mentioned this to you guys in last night's video. I said Bitcoin is at a critical level. This was the weekly outlook, so where I do a high time frame analysis of the markets, looking at the week ahead. Make sure to check it out if you haven't seen that already for your high time frame update. And of course, hit that subscribe button. Let's get me to 100 subscribers if you do enjoy this content. Like, comment, and let me know. Then I'll keep producing because I know you guys are enjoying it. So I mentioned that it was a critical level. This is the level that Bitcoin has to bounce from on the high time frame. So no surprise to see today we have managed to bounce, and going into the weekly close, we did see a nice rally. When you go into those lower time frames, we're heading right back into the 12 and 21 EMA bands on the daily. So you're at a point where this could be resistance, or we could have further fuel if we can break these bands for continuation higher in a short squeeze. But overall, key level was this previous all-time high support resistance level, which we are trying to hold as support and potentially even put in that higher low scenario, which I mentioned in weekly markets, but a lot of work to be done till then. So far, this is just a bounce at an expected level. Shorts got too excited at the lows here, and simply price took advantage of that to fill in some gaps and rally and wipe out some of that bad positioning. So when we go into the lower time frames, quick update on the trades that I took as detailed in morning markets last week. So this short trade, as you know, I already took 50% TP as soon as we hit 110K as per the plan. And regarding the remaining 50%, plan was to hold for a potential move to the September low at 107. Didn't get that. The invalidation for me was a H1 close back above 110K. I did miss the exact close there because I was away from the desk and I was recording weekly markets, which of course is super important to get that out for you guys. Therefore, I did TP the rest at a slightly higher level, around 110K.8. But overall, great trade, and all in all, I closed it for around 4.7 R total. So happy with that. That's the short played out. From here, well, as I said, we got the reclaim of 110K, these round number levels, 110, 115, 120. I've shared these levels with you for weeks now. They're super important and they're very well respected on Bitcoin, especially 110. So as soon as we reclaimed it on Sunday, especially after an extended downtrend where sentiment got really bad over here because on the daily, everyone's just seeing this absolute huge red candle, and that's where sentiment just completely 180s. So it's very natural to just see a bounce here, even if this is going to be bearish. So I wouldn't be looking to get max long or max short right now. I think the best long setups was the reclaim of 110K, which was why I TP'd my short. And if you didn't get long there, then it's better to actually wait for Bitcoin on the daily to get above those bands and potentially flip them green, because then we can say with a higher degree of certainty that this is actually a higher low if these bands over here can actually cross. And then you're looking at potentially for Bitcoin to actually build structure towards the highs, and closing above this level is going to be your ultimate confirmation of that. And I dived into that heavily in weekly markets yesterday, so make sure to check that out if you want that high time frame view. But to stick with the lower time frames, that means that longs aren't interesting in this area here, because potentially you can see the classic Sunday night rally, which if we start closing below this low over here that we set, so that is 11.5k, I'd then potentially be looking for mean reversion moves to start filling in this gap over here. And even if that then finds support at 110k and goes higher, I don't know, but I think if we do get that close below this low, then we can start to see that gap fill in. Very classic for that to happen, as you have these weekend rallies that gets everyone FOMOing in Monday morning, badly positioned for a flush, especially when the New York session begins. And you're seeing early signs of that with a sweep over here. So potentially sweep reversal pattern, unless we can close above and invalidate that. Therefore, from here, you're looking for confirmation. Does this just mean revert and break this low over here? Or do we reclaim, invalidate the sweep, and continue on higher? But most interesting would be any shorts for a mean reversion move back down to 110k. And then from 110, I'll reassess and see, is this level holding? Are we respecting this higher low? Or if we close below it, disrespect 110, then that can actually lead to a further breakdown lower. So that's what I'd be looking for on Bitcoin. You don't want to get in the way of a squeeze and short here without any confirmation, because this can easily target this liquidity over here. This can easily target 115 or even that untapped weekend high from last week. The squeezes can always get violent, and you've already seen the beginnings of a violent move. If shorts aren't closing, that can fuel a further rally higher to take out these liquidity targets, and that's going to be a better place to look for shorts. Once you get a liquidity target taken, look for some sort of reversal and some sort of market structure break, and then trade the move back down with your systems, of course, if they give you a trigger. And that can be taken from any of these higher levels. And at the highest, I'd expect the weekend high to be where a short squeeze ends. So that being said, very clear. There's no real reason to short here until you get some sort of confirmation that this move's going to fill in. And at the moment, those who are long on the reclaim of 110, they look good to hold until we start closing below this low over here. And from there, you really want to see how high can we go, and then look at these liquidity targets as areas to TP or potentially look for shorts. And an area that is going to be of interest is going to be this weekly open over here. So mark that out, weekly open. Go back to the 1 hour chart. This can actually provide you with potential bullish and bearish pivot level for the day, because while we're below the weekly open, the weekly candle's red, and if we can get above it, that puts the weekly candle green. So if the weekly candle's green, that means anyone who long the open's on side, and that can lead to reflexive buying. And while it's red, anyone who long the open is offside, so that can lead to reflexive selling. So that's a level to watch intraday. It's going to be this 112.1k level. If we can start flipping above it, I'd say we're good for an attack of this high over here, 113.9. And while we're below it, you have risk of filling in this Sunday gap up. So that's it for BTC on the 1 hour chart. If we look at the 4 hour, we're starting to see the bands flip green here. So as I said, even if this is going to continue lower, you can just see price chop around for quite some time. Maybe going into the end of the month, we get a rally before a flush, and then from there, it's yet to be seen what October offers. But at the moment, again, you've got this weekly open level at 112.1k. Above it can definitely lead to momentum higher, and I expect this liquidity at the very minimum, 113.9, to get taken in that scenario. But while we're below it, you have that risk of potentially filling in this gap over here. So again, don't want to see price start closing within this box. also known as the low over here that I mentioned. You don't want to see acceptance in there. You want to see this now hold up, push above the weekly open, and trend higher if you are a bull. So that's the full update for Bitcoin. Looking at Ethereum. So weekly close. If you remember on the weekly markets video, I told you guys potentially if we close above the high time frame SR, that is actually going to be the saving grace for ETH, as it doesn't confirm a false breakout and a failure to get above this 4,096 level that we previously broke out from, and we did manage to close above it on the weekly. So this time frame is the last time frame that is still bullish, and this order block over here, you can see it's intact, led to a bounce. Weekly bands are so far holding. So when we zoom in, it's getting interesting now to where ETH is trying to put in a reversal. We closed back above the high time frame SR. We've tested it this morning. It's held. So very interesting to see now when we go on to the lower time frames. First of all, can we reclaim these daily 12 and 21 EMA bands? Going to the 4-hour chart, those bands have flipped green. So question now is, can we break out and hold above this level over here? This is the consolidation high, which ETH failed to even retest as it was breaking down. And this is now really your level to reclaim, because above here, let's say we chop around, build a nice base. That's going to be a beautiful setup. If I see a nice base being built here, consolidation above the high time frame SR, and we flip this consolidation high, that can lead to a very nice move to fill in this gap. You might not even get a retest of that consolidation high. It might just go straight up for a fill of all of this inefficiency here. And that would be where I would be looking for longs. If we see this base, we see price close above the consolidation high, I think the targets then become this consolidation over here, where you can then look for TPs. So that's how I'd play it on Ethereum. Looking for this high time frame SR level to hold, consolidate, and if we get above the consolidation high, that should lead to a move to this cluster of order blocks over here, filling in this gap. So quite interesting on ETH. Definitely got the early signs of a reversal here. The earliest sign was this failure to return pattern with the structure break over here. However, the real confirmation is this high, which led to the new lows. This is your market structure break. If we can get above here, which will then shift the trend from downtrend to a potential uptrend. So either you're just playing the breakout continuation higher. If it's a runaway momentum trend, you can typically see that in short squeezes. Or if it breaks out and then retraces, you're then just looking for a higher low around this high time frame SR. And the high time frame SR is your ultimate invalidation, and the support level price needs to stay above to remain bullish. So you know where you're wrong and you know what to look for in terms of longs. That's what I'll be looking for. That's my trigger to get long on ETH. I think that offers an interesting setup to fill in this gap, especially given we bounced off the weekly order block, bounced off the weekly EMA bands. Even if bearish, again, you can just simply see a weekly rally on ETH, which takes it to this order block before then topping out. Lower high, but can catch a great move in there on the long side and potentially even look for shorts in here to play the downside. So very simple on ETH. And as I said, on the high time frame, if it wants it, then it's gonna reclaim these 12 and 21 EMA bands on the daily time frame. And that can be your high time frame trigger to say, okay, maybe this isn't just going to be a lower high bounce to this order block. Maybe we are actually going to go for a move to the highs again. So if we actually see these bands eventually cross over, they flip green over here, then potentially you can trade a move higher towards that all-time high. But for now, morning markets, that's going to be the low time frame move on ETH. So quick look at gold. Gold has been absolutely chatting along. So new highs again this morning. No surprise. We know who's bidding gold. It is the Chinese. It is that Asian market, those central banks. Daily bands, they're the key support. They're producing new highs. So any retests of the daily bands, look for it to produce new highs on gold. And when it doesn't, that's a change of character. That's a trend shift where you can then say it's likely to go into consolidation. And from there, potentially begin downtrending or, of course, resume its uptrend. So while the daily bands are holding, expect new highs every time it tests them until that fails, because we have got a big consolidation breakout here. When it comes to stocks, so we are bouncing off the pullback to the daily 12 and 21 EMA bands. Very good for risk assets to see this. Bouncing into this order block, held. Can we produce new highs in the New York session? That's going to be interesting to see. So far, looks like it's angling up that way, so keep an eye on this. Daily bands, are they going to be respected? If so, price should produce a new high here. When we look at the low cap stocks, so the Russell 2000, what are we seeing? Well, we're chopping around that all-time high level. I mentioned to you guys, this was where the 2021 cycle went crazy, where you had your alt season. You also had low cap stocks going crazy. So it's a very key level, this all-time high. We reached there in the 2024 bullish phase in last year Q4. So right now you're looking to see, can we break above and mark up, or do we reject it? Because if we break above, then potentially that's going to lead to a nice risk on rally market wide. And in crypto, you should see altcoins also follow that risk on signal. If they don't, then that is a sign to look out for as a show of weakness. But that looks good in terms of investor risk appetite if we can start closing above it. So watch this candle close this weekend to see, can we start accepting above this level where we've previously been rejecting? That's going to be your sign of strength on those lower cap stocks. So moving on to the data, what are we seeing quickly? So I mentioned in weekly markets, this 112K level, very important. It's where Bitcoin set a low in its range before breaking down and breaking down. However, we do see a divergence where open interest isn't breaking down. Now, in a healthy market, the flushes should lead to open interest falling. Otherwise, below 112, if longs are staying open, they're underwater, which can be potential sell pressure for a cascade lower. However, if you reclaim 112, well, that puts the pressure back on the shorts that have built up in this open interest. Remember, open interest is a long and a short opening. So above this level here, where open interest has remained flat, price can climb above, stay above 112, which confluences with the weekly open this week. That's going to allow for momentum rallies higher and continue this short squeeze. That's going to put pressure back on shorts, and below it puts pressure back on longs, and I think likely then leads to new lows and the September low getting hit. So looking at the lower timeframes on Bitcoin, what are we seeing? Well, funding starting to gradually decline, open interest rising, so potentially seeing people actually shorting this move, which is absolutely crazy because there's no confirmation yet. So quite a good sign to see here if you are a bull. Open interest and price are both up 1%. So if you take it from the same low, so that's over here, it's actually up 0.93% from this candle. So this is a short squeeze, you can tell, because positions have been closing during the rally. And open interest isn't outpacing the recent price rise. So potentially looking at this and saying shorts building here with the funding rate sloping down. And those shorts can then continue to get squeezed. And from there, the question is whether spot demand can return and build a higher low on any pullback, wherever it comes, above 110K, or if it's just a short squeeze and you're just going to then revert, come back down and continue that risk off selling that we've seen. So that's yet to be seen, but looks good low time frame today in the New York session to squeeze higher. And again, invalidation for that is closing below the low, full candle close, because then you're going to start to see price filling in the gap. And if it begins to fill in the gap, often the gap tends to fully fill. So you want to see that level hold even on any wicks, and this week to get invalidated with price actually closing above it. That's going to lead to further shorts getting squeezed here. And you're seeing longs on the CVD, the red line. They're aggressively buying. Spot even is up, although slightly selling this morning. Therefore, wait for the New York session. That's going to give the best signal of what is next. So, quick analysis of Ethereum as well. What are we seeing? On ETH, you've got a better spot bid than Bitcoin this morning, which is nice to see on the green CVD. So that's the market order side. Spot are chasing the move. You haven't seen a sweep, and that further adds confidence to me that ETH might actually have a pretty decent setup here with the reversal it's trying to put in. So again, looking for a close above this consolidation high to fully confirm the reversal is in on ETH. And of course, you've got that high time frame SR level around 4096 that you want to see to continue holding on the lower time frames. You don't want to see price go below this level, because then you're looking at coming back to some of this support over here in this consolidation, if not new lows. So again, funding rate is actually going to almost zero, so way below neutral. Open interest is building. Question is, are shorts shorting this morning? Shorting a rally, as shorts love to do, don't they? Because shorts hate money, I guess. Well, seems to be the case, because price is down 0.22%, but open interest is up 1.22%. Therefore, very simple from here. While we're above the high time frame SR, which is this level here, 4096. If you guys remember from the ETH chart, this is your high time frame SR, which we managed to close above on the weekly. If this level can continue holding, that puts the pressure on shorts right now for continuation higher. And I'd expect ETH to at least take a stab at 4233 highs. Whether it breaks it and holds to fill in this efficiency, I'm not sure. That could spark a very nice rally, as I said, and is where I'm looking to allocate and get long on ETH once we get that confirmation. But till then, I think we can see a move to at least tap the liquidity. Whether it breaks or not, that's yet to be seen. But shorts are building here. And of course, if we go below the high time frame SR, then longs are actually going to be the ones offside and longs under pressure. So that's your pivot level. While we're above it, looks good. It's consolidating this morning. Watch the New York session. Trend internally has been up, has been higher highs and higher lows. So let's see where the target of this uptrend is today. They're your levels, they're your triggers. That's what I'd be looking for in terms of Ethereum. So signs are good on Monday. Looks like people got overly excited. Got a little bit too short in the lows over here on ETH. They got a little bit too short at the lows, and you're seeing those signs of reversals, those reversal patterns I showed you guys with the sweeps, with the failure to return. So people got too bearish here at weekly support, and we're now going to start reclaiming high time frame SR, and the daily is going to start reclaiming some of those bearish levels. Well, we could see a decent start of the week. So that is morning markets. That's the full update. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did. Like the video, subscribe. Let's hit 100 subs, and I'll see you guys in the next one.